Hi guys, welcome to the GPX 100 hour review. Just thought I'd start in the woods. A bit of a test I've been working on, still needs a bit more work, a bit more cutting in places. Quite tight. Like there. Just needs a few trees sticking out still. First time I've ridden it fully, so we're getting a feel of what it's like. A few hidden stumps as well still. Try to keep this in third gear in place if I can. Time of day where the sun's flickering and through the trees, you just can't pick things out sometimes. Bit of a hole here. That's the woods test what we've got. So welcome back. Had a little bit of time off recently. We've been doing holidaying, trip to Scotland, keeping the missus happy. You know what the score is. Yeah, but a few things going on in the background with the TPI and the other bike that I've been building since Christmas. Is nearly ready to ride. It's got a few little small details to do with that bike now, and we're just about there, and then we'll showcase it. But just before we go on to the 100 hour review, we've got a few things coming up. We've got Rebel Romaniacs in about just under 2 months now. So it's all about bike time now. Even while I've been away, I've been trying to keep up the fitness, going out and doing runs on an evening, like 4 mile jog, just to keep my hand in. So we got back yesterday from Scotland. A load of tree cutting and chainsawing this morning on this test behind me. Like I said, the scope to extend this for me, maybe 3 times bigger. So it's quite a nice spot to have right on my doorstep. It doesn't affect anybody from a noise point of view. And nobody really knows that I'm here, other than people that I tell. So, the GPX 100 hours, how's it going? Well, pretty good to be fair, really. It's pretty good. This bike is taking a beating. We're 100 hours in. The bike is running like it did from day one. It's always on the button from the start, fires up straight away. The bike's had a hard life for 100 hours. It's had a lot of road use. It's had, say road use. It has had quite a lot of road use between, trails, green laning. The big ride that I did a couple of months ago now, I think it was about 211 miles in one day. I reckon 50% of that were road, and it was fast road going as well. So we're just sort of testing the sort of longevity of the engine, and it's really holding up. Breakages, nothing's broken, really. Nothing that you know, from a mechanical point of view, nothing's broken. From a cosmetic point of view, we've had a few little issues with, you know, crashes, breaking things. I broke the headlight in a crash. And yeah, the rad shroud as well, we did that, we cable tied that up. But these are things what you'd expect anyway from a dirt bike. But mechanically, the bike is sound. I've got a KTM back wheel on at the moment, and that's because I've put a new tyre on that. The tyre what was on the GPX wheel needs changing, and you know, if you've got spare wheels, they fit, use them. So that's just on temporarily, really, until I change the other one. I've been playing with gearing. 53.12 at the moment. We've had 51.12 as well. We've had 52.12. We've had all sorts, various reasons for that. But you know, the bike is good. We still haven't serviced a rear shock, but I think what we'll do is we need to clean the bike. We need to get it back to the workshop and get it all stripped down and clean, so we can have a look at it and see what's going on, and we can look at the component parts. And there are a few little things that I need to address now, like the backlight's not working properly. So there's obviously a corrosion or a bad connector or something in that. And we need to grease a few items as well. We need to get the linkage serviced up properly. It's not been greased now for at least 50 hours. So let's get it back to the workshop and have a good look at it. Alright guys, so that was yesterday, and you're now thinking, WTF, yeah, what's going on? Different ball game today. After yesterday's ride, we brought the bike back, cleaned it off, stripped all the plastic stuff. I've got a pile of stuff down here on the floor that you can't see on camera, but I'll show you that now. All the plastic still need cleaning. We've got the swinging arm out, which highlighted a few little issues. And yeah, it's amazing what you find when you start cleaning your bike, and things what are missing. The odd bolt you might find missing from time to time or something like that. On this occasion, I've just found a couple of things really. Well, mainly it's with the swing arm, but one of the little thing is on the clutch arm. The circlips come off the clutch arm. So that's come off at some point. I've not noticed that because the bike's been kicked in mud for a few weeks or so. So I've ordered one of those. I've ordered a packet of 10 actually for about £3. They're a 9mm stainless external circlip. So not a big deal really, but that's something what's missing. It might have caused a problem. How long it's been off I don't know. But the clutch arm, the way the lever works on this, I doubt it would have come off. At the moment I've just got some lock wire on it just to hold it in place, but the likelihood is I will get the circlip before I ride it again, so I'll fit them once I get them. But just looking at the bike overall, the bike's holding up pretty good. I'll just, I'll talk about the swing arm shortly. But plastics are plastics basically. On a dirt bike, they're going to get broken. There is some damage to some of the plastics, and that's through my own doing, riding. I'll just show you the rad shroud which I repaired, and also if I mentioned it before in a previous video, the airbox cover split. That split within the first few hours of me getting the bike. But other than that, not too bad. The plastics are in pretty good condition. I could really do with looking at getting some graphics on now, some new graphics, but I'm going to hold off for the moment. But mechanically, the bike is pretty good. Starting from the front, we've got the wheels. That's your GPX front wheel with the disc guard on. Really impressed with the build quality on these. Stainless steel spokes, The wheel bearings what were in there lasted up until 90 hours on the front. I was impressed considering the type of riding I've been doing. I occasionally check these with the spoke key. I've got a special torque spoke key just to make sure they're tightened up and they're not too tight. But overall the rims are good, and no sign of any issues at all with the front wheel at the moment. So that's that. Brakes. The brakes have been brilliant from the word go. The brake pads on the front, these what are in there at the moment, they are still the original front brake pads. I won't really see that length of time on front brake pads from any of my other bikes, but for whatever reason they lasted really well. The suspension at the front, if you remember, we serviced that at 50 hours. We had a fork seal go on one side after the race at Sponton Quarry, and we also put heavier springs in, since we've got 44 weight springs in now, which I'm fairly happy with. It took me a little bit of tuning to get to be satisfied with the front end and how it felt, just with the adjusting the clickers and the rebound. Took a little bit of a while, but I'm fairly happy now. We've got it somewhere where it'll do most scenarios for what I'm using the bike for. And generally it's either down the field doing 90-minute motos, or we're doing trail riding, or in the woods as we were yesterday. The bike is a fitness bike. It keeps my bike fitness in tune. That's the whole purpose of this thing. So the front end, brakes, suspension, good, no problem at all. The bars, these were aftermarket bars I put on after we had a crash in Wales on the first race. We bent them, so these bars are doing really well now. These are a cheap aftermarket bar. Going with the ethos of this bike, it's all about low maintenance, low cost, low running costs, cheap dirt biking. So these were an AliExpress aftermarket knockoff rental bar, and they're brilliant. They are really good. They've taken a lot of knocks and they've not bent as yet. What else we got on? The frame, nothing wrong with the frame. The paint works pretty good. It's holding up. It's still got a nice finish in places. Some of there's bits where it's got a bit dull because of jet washing and using cleaning products and things. But overall the frame is still in nice condition. No dents in it underneath. I'm using an Enduro Engineering sump guard on it, which I modified to fit. That's done the job perfectly. So the frame is really standing up to it, as is the subframe as well, the aluminium subframe. Just loose at the moment, because obviously I'm just taking everything off so I can clean things and look at things. So from a frame point of view, no problem at all. It's robust and it's standing the test of time. Moving on to the engine, 100 hours. We've got the exhaust stuff so I can see up the exhaust port. I've looked at the piston, and I've also looked at the cylinder as well. You can see the horn marks still in there on the back of the cylinder wall. Everything looks nice. The engine is proving to be a very reliable unit. I think I'm looking at least 200 hours before I even contemplate a piston change, which is good going for a two-stroke. And that's mainly because of the way the engine's tuned. It's a lower performance engine compared to some of the other bikes that are out there. So you compare the TPI that I've got, KTM, piston change 80 hours, oil pump 80 hours. Oh, though it's expensive. With this, you don't have that expense. Providing you're running clean air filters regularly, you're checking that there's no dirt getting into through the manifold into the carburetor. Just keep it clean. Change your spark plugs regularly. Change your oil, gearbox oil, and the motor will be pretty bulletproof. I think the last oil change I did on the engine was about 20 hours ago, so it's just due an oil change now. The clutch feels really good, for 100 hours. No sign of the clutch slipping or sort of spinning up, whatever. There were, at one point I did think that there was a bit of clutch slip, but it's actually when the power valve sort of kicks in, you get a bit of a it's sort of, I don't know if I can describe that, but you feel it kick in, and it starts taking off, and it sounded like a bit of clutch slip, but it wasn't. So to test it that it wasn't, I just dropped the revs down, put it in top gear, and then just wind it on in top gear, and you could see there's no clutch slip at all. So it's the sound of the power valve opening up and the higher revs that sort of give that impression. So engine wise, I'm really happy with it, really happy. Don't need to do anything with it other than change the oil, put a new spark plug in, and then we'll change the air filter as well when we build the bike back up. The carburetor, the touch and go carburetor, I'm sold on it, absolutely sold on it now. For one, the economy is good fuel economy. I've been out of some good long days trail riding, and I'm getting like, I think it's 12 miles to a litre of fuel on average. So the tank is just short of 10 litres. I can't just quite squeeze 10 litres into the tank, so it's just short. So we're looking at a good 100 miles on the tank onto reserve, which I think is good going for a 2-stroke. Other than that, the only time that I have to adjust the touch and go carb is when I'm at elevation. Now, I generally ride around where I live locally, it's near sea level. What I've noticed is when I get to a higher elevation, like if I go into the Yorkshire Dales, I can be riding up to 1,500 feet above sea level. So there's only on those occasions I've had to just tweak the mixture on the carburetor. But it's a 10-second operation. Just stop, turn the mixer screw on the carb, and it's done. So that's the carburetor. Good throttle response, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. There was a time when I tried some V-force reeds in. Well, they were knockoff V-force reeds. I've got them here. Yeah, they're not genuine ones. I'm pretty sure they're not genuine, but they're a really good copy, and they do actually work. The only problem that I had with them was the thickness of the manifold. That combined with the other part of the manifold goes on was just a little bit too thick, and it actually put a kink. It made the manifold kink, and I think it was creating an air leak. So I took that off, put the standard manifold back on, intake manifold, and everything's good. But I'm told you can actually buy a shortened intake manifold to make these work, so I might look into that at some point, but I'm keeping them. There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, they do work, and the bottom end did feel actually a bit better with these in as well. So at some point or other they will be going back in. So that's the knockoff V-force reeds. So overall, so far, everything's pretty good. Front end, suspension, brakes, wheels, frame, engine, holding up really nice. Electrics as well, going good. No problems with the electrics. I've had no mechanicals with breakages with the electrics as such. You know, we've changed some of the switch gear, which I've told about in a previous video, for my own taste really. Just one thing as well with the touch and go carburetor, before we start talking about the back end. If you remember, I went on a trail ride to Wales, and having gone through a water splash, the bike ran for a short time and then it cut out, and then it just took a little bit of getting going again. And I think that's because the breather pipes on the carburetor had sucked in a small amount of water. And if you remember, I just had to use the choke, and having pulled the choke stopper up, the bike then fired up and we got it going again. So what I've done is I've rerouted the breather pipes on the carburetor up into the frame, and they're on like a small filter on the end of this pipe here, just to stop any water getting in there when we're going through any sort of deep water crossings. And I've done a couple of deep water crossings since that, and we've had no issues at all since rerouting these breather pipes. So that's just something to bear in mind. That so if you're running your breather pipes down to the bottom of the swing arm, just be wary of going through deep water. Otherwise, route them into your frame, or if you can route them into the airbox, route them into the airbox. But I couldn't really find a way of routing them into the airbox without having to cut a hole or anything. So that's why I've routed them into this pipe, which then goes up into the frame cavity. So overall, the bike's doing pretty good. We're now going to talk about the swing arm and the sort of issues that I've found whilst taking the swing arm apart. So we've got the swing arm here. What I found is that the top part bushes will go through the needle roller bearings on both sides. And when I took the swing arm spindle out, both the bushes were solid, they seized solid. When I started drifting the bushes out, I've got one here, a little bit black. All the needle roller bearings fell out as well, so the bearings had virtually collapsed. And yeah, that's probably that being a bit of neglect really. Maybe I should have taken these out to be greased up when I first got the bike. But we've spent more time riding this than maintenance. That's the old idea with this bike anyway. More time riding, less maintenance if possible. So we've got the old bearing races out. We've got some new parts on order, and hopefully by midweek we'll have these back in and we'll have the bike up and running again. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the bearings to come, I'm going to send the swing arm to my friend who just lives a couple of miles away. He's got a vapor blasting machine and he's going to clean this up for me nicely. Take all the paint off, get it back to complete aluminium look. I think it'll look really nice once it's done. So just it's not a massive issue. It is a bit inconvenient because I wanted to ride today, but by the end of next week we should be up and running again on the bike. So that's just a swing arm, which is what needs doing. From a linkage point of view, I'll just get the linkage here. That's the linkage. There was nothing wrong with the bearings in these. There was still some nice greasing in all the bearings. I've taken the collars off from each side and re-greased in there as well. So no issues with the linkage bearings. And I've got the rear shock here. Never been serviced as yet. Hopefully we'll get that serviced in the next couple of days. I'm back at Eurotech tomorrow and Tuesday, so we'll see how or if we can get this serviced up, and also we'll see if we can get a heavier spring in as well, because this spring is the same size dimensions as the Explore units what go in the gas Huskies bikes that have linkage. So we should be able to source a heavier spring quite quickly tomorrow for this shock and give it a service, and we'll see where we go with it. There's a lot of reviews on GPX bikes out there at the moment, and all the reviews give the suspension a good rating, and it is good. The suspension is good for what the bike costs, but I'm now at the point where I think I need a little bit more from the suspension on this bike. For what I'm doing down at my track, in the woods, some green laning, it's not too bad. But if I start going to more technical sort of riding with it, I do notice at times I could do with a little bit more plushness, if that's the right word to say. So we'll just see where we go. I mean, in a real world scenario, the only thing that I need to do if I wanted to upgrade, all I'd need to do is buy another shock, and you can get another WP shock. There's loads out there second-hand on these servicing for like £300, £350 for a rear shock. and then just have it serviced and put my own spring in it. So it's fairly cheap to do. From the front end point of view, I've got my own forks anyway. I've got the TPI. I've also got another bike which I'll be showcasing fairly soon, which has also got the Explore forks on. So I've got options there to borrow forks from another bike if I need to. So in real terms, all I need is another rear shock if I wanted to upgrade on this GPX, because let's face it, the bike is good. It's a good bike. But like I say, I'm just at the point now where I feel like I need a little bit more from the suspension. From a beginner rider point of view, you probably won't need that at all. You know, it's adequate for a lot of people. But when you start pushing these things, you're going into more technical type riding, and you need that bit more plushness, shall I say. So that's a rear shock. We'll get that looked at this week. Back in there. So, I mean, overall pretty good. Plastics are holding up pretty good. Electrics, that sort of thing. We've sussed out what was wrong with the backlight when I mentioned that yesterday. And it was just, there's a lot of dirt on it actually. When I cleaned the backlight, it was actually working. There's just a lot of dirt on it. The backlight on these bikes is not as bright as some of the other bikes. But it does work. So I thought it was a connection issue, but it's not. So looking at the wheels, we've got two wheels here. That is the wheel I had on yesterday, and that is the GPX wheel. GPX wheel needs a tyre change, and both wheels have got different rear sprockets. I've got a 51 on the GPX wheel, and there's a 50, I think it's a 53 on this one. Yeah, it's a 53. That's a KTM wheel, and let's lift it up again. All we've got is in this is the motocross bushes in this wheel to make it work with the bike. This is a spare wheel I've had quite a while, to be fair, when I built with stainless steel spokes. But like I said, I've got a 53 rear sprocket on, and that's mainly because of the type of riding that I'm doing. If I'm riding you down at my track, doing some like small hill climb type work in the woods, it's better to have a 53 rear tooth sprocket on because I can carry third gear longer in certain scenarios, and also a better second gear for hill climbs. And with the GPX wheel with the 51 on, it's better for the green lanes. It's also better for tarmac work. If I've got some long stretches of tarmac to do, I can keep the revs down, but I've also got a better top end as well. So those are the two sprockets what I like, a 51 or a 53, depending on what type of ride I'm going to be doing. So it's just nice to be able to swap the wheels as I need to. So there we are, guys. We've covered quite a lot on the bike and where we are with it at this moment in time. Like I say, the first big service repair job has been the Swingarm bearings on it. So other than that, everything else pretty good. It's just normal sort of servicing type work, particularly with the engine. Keeping the cost down with this bike because it doesn't require the servicing like you would have on like a TPI bike or some of the more performance machines, two-stroke performance machines. With this, it'll go longer between piston changes. So it's keeping more money in your wallet, so to speak. So yeah, that's it really. We've got some other stuff coming up. I'm trying to keep those in the background for the moment with the TPI and the other bike. Just trying to concentrate on one thing at a time. You know, I have been away on and off over the last month or so with holidays. I went in Bulgaria was the last one. Mainly the GoPro stuff that you've seen that I put out with that, and then I've had a week in Scotland as well doing stuff. It's nice to sometimes to have a little bit of time out from the social media and video work just to concentrate on other things, put things into perspective. So we're back, well, full time as much as I can now. I've got a lot of work to do before Romaniacs in 2 months' time. So just stay tuned, just keep with us, guys, and I'll be back soon with an update on this bike later on in the week. and soon with the other bike. So stay tuned. Have during Adventure Media at Eurotech and on Robbo's GPX Dirt Bike page. See you soon.